sabi ko, marami siyang progressive ideas.
Or at least openness.
Yeah,
or at least
his openness, yeah. But at the same time, it seems that he did not respect the rule of law. Siguro carry over ng pagiging mayor niya. He thought that he could do anything, just like a mayor would do, you know. We have to respect the process, due process, especially when it comes to, you know, carrying and implementing his war against drugs. Hindi naman po pwedeng magdadami na lang yung extrajudicial killings. Kailangan, nagdadaan yan. Akusahan mo, kasuhan mo yan, dadaan yan sa korte, ikukulong. Kasi to my knowledge, wala naman death penalty sa Pilipinas. And you cannot promote a culture of death na patay dito, patay doon. Alam ko maraming tao, especially those who are already desperate na talagang have this direct experience, negative experience with drugs, they would want something instant. And I understand that here in our country, ang bagal minsan din ng justice system. Totoo yan eh. Kaya nga maraming politicians, naging popular sila dahil meron silang parang instant justice.
Dirty Harry, cowboy style.
Programs, no? But, okay, what I did, I gave a chance to President Duterte. I had a difficult time kasi hindi aligned din yung some of my principles like respect for the rule of law, due process. Also yung proliferation ng fake news during his time. I didn't like that. On the other hand, nagustuhan ko yung, sabi ko nga, yung kanyang liberal mindset. Also, up to a certain extent, yung political determination. But still, political determination is not only.
Yeah.
Ang boundary mo is the law. It's always the law. And as a legislator, I thought, para pa kami gumawa ng batas kung hindi rin naman re-respetuhin. So, our system allows us to change political parties. Why? In Congress, if you are not supportive of the powers that be, kawawan distrito mo. Ang hirap nung ganon, di ba? You have to defend. You're like a mother. I felt like a mother who had to defend her children, my constituents.
Under impossible conditions, right?
Under very difficult conditions. And I was being judged for doing that. No? Sabi ko, these people, they talk, they have no idea of real politics.
But was an abstention, for instance, on some controversial vote?
No. That was not even a possibility. The instructions were very clear.
There will be repercussions.
There will be repercussions for your district. The only option was yes. But, sige, balikan natin yung aking death penalty vote. Against talaga ako sa death penalty. Kasi nga, I'm a practicing Catholic.
Right.
Pero, ang choice ko nun is, kawawan distrito ko. First termer ako nun. Marami kami mga neophytes. We were crying. Nag-falling hair pa nga ako eh. Tapos I had this following among the youth who saw in me someone different. Somebody
Possible
who
champion.
Somebody who broke the glass ceiling, somebody who's very progressive, and so there was this pressure, no? Do I please my followers or do I protect my district? And the answer was very clear to me. Proteksyonan ko, ang prioridad ko talaga yung distrito ko kasi you're the ones who voted for me. So before deciding, I actually consulted. That day I remember I was in the Senate lobbying for the SOGI SC Equality Bill. I was distributing pink roses with rainbow ribbons among the senators. And I asked them, what are you going to do with the death penalty? Oh, we're going to vote against it. Okay. Good opportunity. Strategic vote. I please the powers that be in the lower house with the perfect knowledge that the bill would not prosper in the Senate. So, 2-in-1. Diba? Kaya nga lang, that does not sit well with the audience. Yun ang mahirap din sa aming mga politiko eh. Especially those who have gained some sort of popularity.
Prominence, yeah.
Yeah. And it seems nga na kahit papano, pinakikinggan din ako maraming tao, many people observe me, which is kind of difficult too. Kasi I look at the other congressmen, they just go about their daily work and nobody notices that. But everything I say or do, parang I'm under scrutiny. But okay, bahagi talaga ng condition ko yun eh. Technically speaking, ako ang first trans woman in Congress and voice of the LGBT community. But people also forget that first and foremost, I am the representative of the 1st District of Bataan. Okay, the system allows it. Powers that be can punish your district. So what do we do about it? Ako, ang pangarap ko talaga, magkaroon ng change ng system eh. Because for that to happen, you need constitutional reforms. And
that's tricky. That's a very tricky issue. Maybe we can have the discussion after
Yes.
elections kasi baka babalik ulit yung discussion and remember and you know there was a lot of back and forth between the Senate and Congress.
Oh yeah.
Zubiri eventually lost even his position amid all of that. I mean mahabang usapan yan. But you're also right. There's also this aspect that sa lower house iba yung dynamics because you know
Iba.
I advised both Miriam Defensor back in the day and also
Wow,
Walden
my
Bello in the
idol.
lower house. So like when I was just starting, no? So I understood na iba talaga yung dynamics sa Senate, iba yung dynamics sa lower house.
Iba
Sa Senate
talaga.
kasi collegial. You're basically 24 egos
And you
of
have
same
these
stature.
constituencies that you have to protect.
Right.
Unlike the Senate.
National.
Oh yeah, like
figure,
your mini kingdom.
Yes.
It's like a mini kingdom, like
Yeah.
small kingdoms. I've always viewed the Senate, I don't agree with the present setup of the Senate. Kung ako yan sana, parang sa Europe, regional, ang mga senators.
Which we used to have nung time ng Commonwealth.
Oh, di
So
ba?
for instance, Isabela de los Reyes, he was representing the Ilocos 3 regions put together back. Just like US.
At least you're directly accountable
Yeah,
to,
each state, yeah.
to a group of people. And you can also have that direct engagement with the people. Ang problem ko kasi with the present setup is you just have 24 people. Too much power in the hands of few people. Just 24. And sometimes people get comfortable in their privileged situations. It's parang getting stuck on top of ivory towers and
sometimes
not responding to
cosplaying
their-
for potential presidents. I mean, some of them you can see that they're already positioning the.
Yeah, is it all
we don't
about
have to name
political
names.
ambition?
Yeah,
Yeah, like-
wala akong sinasabi.
What
Wala
about-
akong sinasabi sa microblading or
What
anything.
about the clamor for divorce? What about this group of women
Right.
who actually need a legal solution, formula,
Yeah.
na hindi naman legal annulment? Kasi alam mo naman, problema ng legal annulment, you have to prove that the grounds for
The
that
threshold
annulment,
is very high.
no, you have to prove that they existed at the start
Yeah.
of the marriage. I mean,
Like from the rot was what at the heart of the apple, parang ganun.
yes,
so you have
yes.
to litigate it from the very
for
beginning,
example,
yeah.
binubugbog ka. Kailangan patunayan mo at the time you marry the guy, binubugbog ka na. But like, hello, would you marry that guy kung binubugbog ka na from the very start? So it's almost impossible to prove those grounds, no? Which is what eternalizes a legal annulment process. And many women, especially those who are underprivileged, are actually the ones who are victims and those who are trapped in toxic relationships where even their physical integrity nanganganib na. Halos patayin na sila eh. Tapos, inabuso ka na. Meron pa nga, let me tell you the story. Alam ko medyo nag-segue tayo dito sa
No. I
divorce.
mean, we're trying. People have to understand where you're coming from. That this is a conviction politics.
And this is
right?
related to
Yeah.
yung narinig kong stand ng Senate sa divorce, ha? And my disagreement with the present setup. Itong divorce, no? So may mga babae ako nakilala. Actually, through Senator Pia Cayetano, no?
Right.
We campaigned for the divorce during the 17th Congress when she became Congresswoman. I met this woman who worked in Saudi Arabia as a domestic helper. So, alam mo naman ang conditions ng work doon. Medyo inaabuso. Pero tiniis niya yun, so that she could send money to her husband, for their daughters also. So, the husband would actually tell her, padala ka ng pera para magawa natin yung bahay, yung kusina, yung tuition fee ng anak. So, she did that for several years. Until one day, merong kapitbahay na nagsabi sa kanya, umuwi ka na, hindi maganda yung nangyayari. So, kinutuban si ate. Umuwi siya. And this is what she found out. Lahat ng perang pinaghirapan niya, walang naipundar. No tuition, no renovations ng bahay, ginastos, sa alak, barkada at droga. Tapos ang comment ko nun, buti nga ma'am, hindi nga ng babae. And then, with that rage within her,
I see, yeah.
she said, ma'am, yun na nga yung problema. Ang ginawa niyang babae, ang mga anak naming dalaga. How can I tell that woman, no, sorry, you married that guy, you made the wrong choice, you're stuck to him forever. And she doesn't have the money to, she can't afford a lengthy legal process.
Very expensive, yeah.
Very expensive. Kasi the grounds are difficult to prove. You know, divorce is a pro-women piece of legislation. You recognize that many relationships start okay, diba? They're in love, but have deteriorated. And despite all best efforts, wala na talagang magagawa. So, can we pride ourselves in the Philippines as being the only country in the world that still does not have divorce?
Wait, last time I checked, one of the few, if not only Catholic country aside from Vatican.
Well, the Vatican, I mean, like everybody.
Spain is Catholic, Italy is Catholic.
But
Argentina.
I cannot consider the Vatican. Malta, which is staunchly Catholic, already has divorce. But the Vatican, like, who's married there?
Right.
They're all
that's
like
what I'm saying.
celibate.
Like, practically, we're not only, but like only even among Catholic countries, we're still not there yet. Now,
do you mean to say, lahat sila mali, tapos tayo lang ang tama? I mean,
well, some would make exactly that argument that mali si Pope, mali lahat ng Catholic countries, sila lang tama. I think they want to go back to 1970s or 60s. But I don't want to pick a theological fight here. What I want to discuss here is, dito, honestly, is there a part of you, ang basa ko kasi dito is, you're not regretting anything because you knew that you had to make hard choices. Very Hillary Clinton, right? Hard choices, I understand. But is there a part of you that parang, nevertheless, gusto kong bumawi ngayon to be even more a kind of a champion of rights or more a kind of a bastion of responsibility? O, kaya nga pumasok ka dito sa it, because this is a minefield. You're asking for trouble.
I can't change the past.
Right.
What I can do is to recognize my mistakes, if there were mistakes, and also understand the circumstances. Kasi hindi naman ako naniniwala na everything in this world is black and white. Even what I learned it at the Ateneo, no, when it comes to morality and ethics, is that the circumstances define the gravity of what is perceived generally to be wrong. Lagi may circumstances yan. And what I can do is try to, well, acknowledge it and also try to draw something positive from that experience. A learning experience. Like, when I apologized to Senator Laila de Lima for keeping quiet during the 17th Congress, nabash nga ako nun Kala mo ako nagpakulong kay Laila de Lima.
Right.
Sabi ko nga, Diyos ko Lord, ang dami naming, we kept quiet. We were living under a climate of fear.
Yeah.
If you spoke against the administration or you perceived as a political enemy, lagot ka. You know what? Yung pagkakakulong kay Laila de Lima was basically a statement to the legislative. Tumahimik kayo. Walang legislative branch sa akin. Kaya ko magpakulong ng sitting senator. So, behave kayo at cooperate kayo sa akin. Now, all presidents want cooperation from the legislative branch. But any president should also be open to dissent. Hindi naman laging tama ikaw Maybe we can find a way. Pero hindi ka naman pwede mag-dictate when we live in a system where there is supposedly independence among the three branches of government. Separation of powers. So, when I apologized to her because of my silence, tama-tama we were discussing the Safe Spaces Act.
Right.
So we introduced this amendment to include public officials. I don't think public officials would be exempt from the Safe Spaces Act. If you make misogynistic remarks, if you disrespect the LGBT community, women in general, bastos ka, you cannot go unpunished when you should be setting the good example. You see, being in this position of power, lalo na kung pangulo ka ng bansa, when you do or say something, people tend to normalize it. There was a time naging normal ang pagmumura. Pero naisip ko, is this what we are supposed to teach our children? Naging normal na to crack jokes against women. Remember the time...
rape jokes even.
Oh, yeah.
Rape jokes.
Rape jokes. Remember...
Jokes.
Yeah.
Jokes.
You remember that joke na, sana ako nauna kasi ang ganda niya.
Nauna si Mayor. Sana nauna si Mayor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kasi, missionary pa yun. Or mga jokes dun sa physical attributes ni then VP Lenny.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Ang hirap nun. And everybody thought it was eskwela or cool to do those things.
You think a part of that was also a backlash against... Kasi, well, hindi tayo Scandinavia or Europe level. Pero sa Asia, we have been always among the top, if not number one, in terms of gender equity.
Oh, yes.
I'm not romanticizing the objective conditions. Pero practically,
in theory.
Go to any other Asian country, put your thumb on it. I would say relatively Filipino women or even the LGBT are better represented, more integrated. Because a part of me is saying this toxic masculinity was also a backlash. It was a way by the, like it was like a dark, unconscious somewhere
I would say it's
there.
a generational thing too.
Boomer thing.
Yes. In terms of legislation, Filipina women are way ahead of our Asian counterparts.
Right.
I've attended several women's conferences in ASEAN, and pinapangarap pa lang nila, meron na tayo.
Yeah, exactly.
But real life, sa grassroots, alam mo ba na, for example, sa family ko, there are 11 articles that actually give priority to the husband over the wife.
Which has Spanish era roots and all of that. So meron din tayong problema ganun. It's kind of a hybrid schizophrenic also situation, right?
Yes. So what do we do about it? So from our committee, I happen to chair the Committee on Women and Gender Equality. We've been trying to amend the family code. At least dapat equal footing yung husband at saka wife. Hindi naman pwedeng laging may last say yung husband in family decisions. For example, they want to sell a property because the family is in dire straits, payag na lahat ng anak, payag na yung wife, pero pag sinabi ng lalaki, ayoko, siya pa rin naman susunod.
Right.
O, diba? It can become very unreasonable. Akala mo naman lahat ng lalaki matino. So, anyway, going back to that machista culture.
Yeah.
It still exists. I think it's a generational thing. Thank God.
Hopefully, yeah. I hope, yeah.
Thank God nagkakaroon ng generational turnover. I'm proud to say that at least kahit sa Congress, you've seen a lot of young legislators coming in, joining our ranks. May bagong mindset na yan.
Generational shift.
Yeah. Many of them have studied abroad. Nakita naman na that sky doesn't fall on countries where there's gender equality and everybody's just happy, right? So they also dream of the same things for our country.
Congressman, now I want to go back to the issue of digital responsibility and guardrails. Yung discussion natin kanina, just for people to understand why I keep on harping on that is because marami nagsasabi, ngayon lang biglang matapang ng Congress. Ngayon lang kaya galit sa disinformation. Anong ginagawa? Itong congresswoman or congressman ganito. So I'm trying to give those skeptics, including the skeptic inside me, a chance to hear the other side. So I hope you see why I'm doing this, right? Kasi parang it's madali. Itong Quadcom na to, di ba dati ganito si ganyan? I mean, I don't want to name drop, right? Marami akong, or when, the president talked about his slate, di ba? So slate ko, ganito, ganyan. And then, of course, wait, last time I checked, this one was this. So that's why I hope you understand where I'm coming from. It's really to counter that skepticism, or at least give the other side of this conversation more voice, because masyado tayong in silos eh. Everyone is trying to be like, eto mga to, di nila naintindihan ng politika kasi wala sila dito. Yung mga nasa labas naman, eto naman, lahat ng mga trapo na to, puro nakatrapuan.
I've actually received a lot of bashing because of this legislative measure, or this measure that I'm trying to promote, no? The reason why I come up with this suggestion is precisely to address the accusations na the TRICOM is just meant to harass voices that are against the
contrarian.
administration. Yes.
And it's elections period also.
Election period.
The timing.
Or it is just a venue for my colleagues to vent out their
Frustrations.
their grievances
Yeah,
against
yeah, yeah.
those who have attacked them on social media. I keep on reminding my colleagues, and we're fully aware, in fact, that this is a committee in aid of legislation. So, bearing in mind na patapos na rin ang 19th Congress, sabi ko we should come up with something. So, I started talking to the stakeholders. I've spoken to content creators, different associations of content creators. Meron pala. Also, yung mga digital marketing and advertisers associations. I've spoken to PR firms. I've spoken to prominent vloggers also and political strategists. And
Where is this coming from? Because that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of energy. So may election tayo. Is it this sense na everything is spinning out of control? Parang papunta na tayo sa impyerno, kailangan natin ayusin yan. Is that what's driving you? Because that's a very energy-consuming one, right?
Hindi naman. I am by nature quite
Hyper,
good
yeah.
in research. I am a journalist.
Yeah.
When I want to find a solution to something, I really do my research and I talk to people. I love listening to people. Kaya nga, dun sa mga bashers ko, hindi po ako galit sa inyo. I understand where you're coming
Kasama
from.
ako dyan sa bashers.
And Richard, I really don't care.
I'm kidding.
Basta alam ko malinis ang hangarin ko and I want to find a solution.
Right.
And I want to level up ang content creation sa ating bansa. I want it to be respectable. I want to do away with this impression na ang content creation is just meant to spread fake news, to serve the political interests of certain groups or individuals.
So you want to professionalize it, basically? Is this about code of ethics? This is about the rules of the game, some normative standards? Is this what we're looking at here? Okay.
Correct. Because this setup already exists among journalists.
And PR practitioners
and
even.
PR practitioners, or even in the world of advertising.
Right, exactly.
So I came up with a suggestion which I presented at the TRICOM, which is the creation of a digital council of the Philippines.
Is there a best practices or model that you're looking at? Meron bang ibang bansa na may something similar? I remember very well, for instance, when President Trump was bumped off some of the big platforms. Back then, Angela Merkel, Chancellor Merkel, came out and said, this decision should not be left to either specifically a specific government or specific companies. There has to be kind of an inclusive body, representative body that makes these decisions because it reflects on the character of a democracy's constitutional order, right?
Yes.
So is it in that kind of spirit, that Merkel spirit, that on questions of guardrails around responsibility of speech, it has to be a kind of a whole of nation approach. And
it is a difficult
approach.
Balancing act,
Right.
you know. When you mentioned first, well, this was what they were accusing me of, no? That I would infringe on the constitutional right to freedom of expression. Pinag-aralan ko rin po yan.
Right.
In fact, when it comes to legislating something that has something that is related to the constitutional right to, in this case, freedom of expression, we always go and lean towards and choose the least restrictive means. This is the scrutiny test that is employed in the US by the US Supreme Court and also here in our country. Kasi nga, we do recognize and we should realize that hindi naman komo yan ay constitutional right, unli yan or absolute. Now, speaking of models, you were mentioning Angela Merkel or Europe. We don't have to go abroad. In our country, for example, yung mga commercials na tinatawag, in the world of advertising, whether print or broadcast, radio, television, lahat pala ng commercials nagdadaan sa tinatawag na Ads Standards Council.
Right.
It's a body created among practitioners, the stakeholders in the world of advertising. So first they came up with a code of ethics and standards, no? Which I presume is based on what is true and what is fair. Kasi there is such a thing as unfair advertising. Yung mga nangangako na, okay, kikinis ang kutis mo in 3 days if you use this cream, no?
False advertising.
Oh, false advertising. So, if they detect that a commercial is false or unfair, and it violates their code of ethics, hindi nila binibigyan ng approval yan. And hindi pwedeng yan i-print, hindi yan pwedeng i-broadcast.
And sometimes there are, but sa dulo there's a caveat or disclaimer na walang therapeutic, proof or claim. There's also, so there you have the gradations of.
So I think many bodies are represented in the ADS Standards Council, including the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So it's easy to prove if the claims are false, are baseless, and they do not allow. My point is that is that censorship? Is that a curtailment of the right to expression, right to free speech? I don't think so. So we are always guided by what is true and what is fair. So translate that into the world of content creation through what we would call the Digital Council of the Philippines, to be formed by the stakeholders themselves. I'm not about to legislate the creation, no?
Yeah.
The initiative should come from the stakeholders themselves. Takot ako kasi na makusahan nga na, this is another form of government control.
So it's like a counter-weaponization. I was like, no, but...
and I am against government control.
Of course.
So in the world of content creation. But I firmly believe in the professionalization, if such a term exists, no? And if that's even possible. I believe that many content creators are serious content creators, and they do not want to be ranked among those who are just or those who are unscrupulous. So they would choose these associations. Ang ideal makeup niyan is it will be formed by advertisers, also associations of content creators, PR firms, the DICT, kasi kailangan somehow may role din ang government, and also...
So it's a public-private partnership?
Yes,
right.
yes, but mainly private. Yung mga content creators.
So you want also the academe to be involved in this?
Yes.